Wisdom is dangerous. Love and beauty are too. Our culture has kept us away from them, and must do so, to perpetuate the insanity we see all around us. Thus, mainstream education in the dominant culture has one principal function: to protect citizens from philosophy. Of necessity, this also means protecting citizens from art and nature. Our education system expresses and constitutes our personal and cultural philosophy of life, our vision of a proper way of life. But our way of life is in crisis. We face a crisis of meaning, a crisis of attention, a crisis of ecology, a crisis of knowledge and truth, a crisis of disconnection and division. All these crises are one: a philosophical crisis, which could result in the breakdown of organized human life, even the end of the human species. We cannot have true peace, happiness, freedom, justice, and well-being in ourselves and our world unless we properly address human ignorance. Only the wisdom traditions can empower us to do this, hence their dangerous character. Philosophy literally means love wisdom. If we love anything at all, we need the wisdom to take good care of it. Philosophy isn't a bunch of abstractions, a set of clever arguments, or a bundle of questions with no answers. Rather, it's so concrete and practical that we often fail to recognize it, sometimes because it feels threatening. For instance, philosophy is training for death, and honesty about death leads to a renunciation of much of the nonsense an ignorant culture depends on. No one can get through life without being a philosopher, because philosophy is just how we do things. Wisdom means doing things in a way that fundamentally works, without negative side effects. The philosophies that drive the dominant culture give us unskillful, unrealistic, and fragmented images of ourselves as atomized, self-interested, aggressive, sinful, and competitive. They give us a view of the world as a mere storehouse of resources to extract at will. And they give us a view of reality as a collection of matter that doesn't matter. Our culture, our planet, suffers from these and other elements of exceptionally bad philosophy, or perhaps drably foolish philosophy at an exceptionally large scale. We find the concreteness of this bad philosophy in our bodies and minds, plastic in our lungs and our blood, lead in our brains and bones, forever chemicals in our rain and our liver, the anxiety and depression, the trauma and loneliness, the dead zones in our oceans, the droughts and floods, the extinction of species, the social, political, economic circus. We need healing and nourishment, not more trauma, more toxins, and more technology. We need the wisdom that most threatens ignorance and injustice. With it, we can heal the suffering in ourselves and our world. But it will take enough courage to admit the causes, to face the crisis, to wade into the unknown, which means letting go of what we think we know, because that doesn't seem to be working as well as it could, and the consequences are concerning, potentially catastrophic. The vastness of the great mystery gives rise to a diversity of expressions and paths of life. Indeed, we rely on spiritual and biological diversity to create a thriving world. Nevertheless, wisdom is something we hold in common. We need to tend to that common ground. Our spiritual and ecological commons, caring for them in their non-duality, sensing that we share a common health and wholeness, that our well-being and our sacred potential transcends the duality between individual and collective. The most dangerous wisdom. Everything is fluid and completely interwoven. Everything. It is the image of the divine. In this mystical image, what we practice is what we realize. And at the same time, we are originally free and spontaneous expressions of wisdom, love, and beauty, which all venerable spiritual traditions revere. No venerable spiritual tradition teaches us to value money or to organize our culture around money as a functional center of gravity. We must renounce the currently unhealthy meaning of money and arrive at practices of economy rooted in wisdom, rooted in spiritual and ecological reality. This includes organizing our culture around compassion, care, and cooperation. We need truly meaningful work. Work that fosters the conditions of nature and culture seen as a whole. We must renounce or rethink any activity that degrades ecologies, bodies, or souls. Our lifestyle and livelihood must arise from a holistic ethics that helps us realize the non-duality of wisdom and wildness, and the practices of becoming indigenous again. Democracy is a dream we can make real. Only widespread direct participation, including democracy in our work life, will bring democracy and culture back to life. We need mutiny against Captain Clock, Colonel Calendar, and Commander Capital. A rebellion against our own domestication and the insane split we have made between nature and culture. We live in a consumer culture. The vast majority of us are being consumed. We need to use our imagination to think beyond the isms we have clung to or revile. We cannot survive an economy that exists in denial of and disconnection from reality. Because of the interwovenness of all things, we need clean air and water, healthy forests, mountains, rivers, oceans, and so on. and we need healthy soil that can grow nourishing food and medicine. Mind, memory, creativity, landscape, ecologies, medicines, magic, they arise all together. All citizens need to help build soil, increase biodiversity and biomass, replenish watersheds and re-regulate hydrological cycles, reduce pollution, and create a more just and vitalizing culture. Abiding peacefully and passionately in living places, we make our places and they make us. We must learn the nature of our own mind and recognize the miracle of our own mind. Where is the edge of your mind? Where is your experience located? We won't find it by looking in your skull. We must stop being fooled by our skull and our skin, and walk a path of health, healing, holism, and holiness. We must also confront our unconscious mind. We must renounce the idea of education as a process of producing good workers, and in general, a process of manufacturing the consent of the masses. Education and all human activity can have only one aim: to cultivate the whole of life onward in a spirit of passionate reverence, mutual nourishment, mutual illumination, and mutual liberation. We need to practice better ways of knowing ourselves, each other, and the world we share. The knowledge we most need comes from a change in the knower, an evolution in perception and thinking that brings mutual healing into the world. Such transformed knowers can think and act from and toward wholeness. The sages have taught us that we live as if asleep in our own lives. What would it mean to wake up? What would it mean to stop fooling ourselves? The greatest danger of wisdom, love, and beauty comes from the fact that commitment to them means an end to human-caused extinctions, an end to conquest and aggression, an end to pollution and degradation, an end to all delusions. Our ignorance cannot survive this danger. Our species, on the other hand, cannot thrive in the absence of this danger. Therefore, we must seek it, going to the places that scare us, helping those we think we cannot help, entering the practices of the wild, and finding the great love we all carry in the center of our being, the great love that carries us.